So I want to talk about honesty. This is something I think people really misunderstand. It's something I've been talking and I'm thinking about rather since I was very young. I've always been very honest, obsessively. So I had to understand the role of dishonesty in the world. I grew up among a lot of lying and liars, and I always disliked it. I was always very honest. People got to know me for that. But as a result, as I've grown older, it makes me a good liar, because if I do lie, I have absolutely no impulsive lying, no impulsion to lie, or practically none. Certain circumstances create that impulse. I don't have any automatic impulse not brought by the situation, and a situation that drives to that, I have a very, very strong counter impulse to like, the more I feel like, oh, I just don't want people to know this, the more I'm like, disclose it, just because I can't live under that kind of thing. Anyway, I know, so if I go with the lie, but if I do lie, an example, I know why. And I believe that lying is an admission of weakness, which I don't like to admit, so that helps me not want to lie. But my example of justified lying that I usually use is, if the Nazis come to your door looking for Anne Frank, you should lie. Because they're stronger than you gun-wise, And there's other kinds of strength, obviously, that you're showing in that case. And other kinds of truth. But it's an interesting example to me because I think morally it is wrong to give up Anne Frank in that situation. So you should lie. But anyway, honesty. The weird thing that people, both honest and dishonest people, some seem to miss, though I know the honest people must be going through this process. Again, this is the fact that I feel like I'm seeing what evidently is subconscious to other people, but you see the behaviors and this. Anyway, I know that this is my experiences. Sometimes I can speak about it applying to other people because I've related what I've found to biology. For example, that we have a subjective experience, that we're having, our subjective I feeling. That's built into the brain. So anyway, the thing about honesty is people just assume that like there's a natural honesty in the mind, that liars are lying on purpose. And no, most lying is not on purpose, and most lying is not even misrepresentation of facts. Most lying is misrepresenting your deductions as perceptions. Okay, like, I'll use an example. This is from a Robert Heinlein book, kind of. So, if we're standing on a hill and I point at a house down there and we say, what color is that house? And you go, oh, it's blue. Okay, well, in the story, there's people that are paid to be professional witnesses, and they're exceptionally careful. And, to show how she thinks, he's like, what color is that house? And she goes, well, this side's blue. And we report deductions as perceptions. I saw the house was blue. I know it was blue. But really, you saw one side of the house was blue. And then other experiences in your life, houses are usually painted one color all the way around. And you stepped beyond your perceptions into a deduction. It's a reasonable deduction. But when you do this to yourself, the deception is, it could be good-natured, it could turn out right, honesty requires decomposing, because this is how we get it. When we look at the house, we actually feel like we're seeing the house. Our brain makes those deductions. Analytically, we have plenty of information in the brain to separate that deduction, though, from the raw perceptions, right? I shouldn't be using the word perception here because often I use everything for perception, but I'm talking about sense perceptions. Reporting your deductions as sense perceptions. Sorry, I should have been saying sense perceptions. If I look at a cloud and I see a face in the cloud, it all comes. There's the face. Look, the face looks like it's in the cloud. It comes to my conscious mind in that form, and but it's a very quick, easy, analytical thing to separate out. And if it is confusing, like the shape isn't something obviously that I projected there, there's ways to break down, wait, what's that? And is there really a feature there? And what's that shade? And what's that color? And does that look like that's connected to that? And you analyze the raw sense data and report that to yourself. And to be honest, even if you see something that you think is real, valid interpretation of that sense data, you should still remember, well, here's the sense data I have, here's the evidence, here's my current theory, like Sherlock Holmes. When you get more evidence, the theory should change. The theory, the deductions, the interpretations of what something is, has to be flexible. And so your anchor is what was the actual sense data. The more you can memorize sense data as such, the patterns of light as such, so you don't have to remember it as a human figure, you remember it as a bunch of shapes that you think are a human figure, and then you can go, wait a second, oh, you know what, those shapes could also be a mannequin. Okay, those shapes could even be a tree stump. And of course, over time, you have all kinds of features you can use, like the motion of things tells you, so it's not just shapes. But again, there's categories of types of motions, like, well, that's like a motion of something being blown back and forth in the wind, as opposed to that's the motion of a volitional animal movement. So, yeah, so we don't know. You're not automatic. If you're an honest person, then the things you get in your mind, you can't just report them honestly. It requires some analysis to separate out which are the sense perceptions and which are the interpretations or deductions. Okay, cheers.